Yes, he's Jehovah Jireh. He's God. Oh God, I wish somebody will try to get this one in your spirit. He's the I am that I am. Everything that you need, God is. Because he's God and God alone. Despite the circumstances, you understand, despite what is going on, despite the high or the low, God still remains God. Whether you believe he's God, yes or no, he's still God. Whether he's doing what you want him to do, yes or no, he's still God. If you believe in him, he's God. If you don't believe in him, guess what? He's still God. If you want to worship him, he's God. If you don't worship him, he's still God. If you come to church, he's God. If you don't come to church, he's still God. When you're home, he's God. When you're at work, he's God. It doesn't matter where you find yourself, God is still God. Oh, I need to rub this in real good, man. Because sometimes when we are going through our difficulties, we are wondering where is God. But he is still God. He's still on his throne. Jehovah God is still God. Reverend Queensborough said, know who is calling you this morning. If anybody was here would see me up here smiling. Because he preached out about half of my message. Yes, man, I saw him preaching it out and I said, but then I heard him say something. He said, so he's preaching a different message. We might be preaching the same thing. We're preaching about the same thing. But he's preaching one way and I'm preaching another way. But guess what? How he's preaching on the anointing of God. And how I'm preaching on the anointing of God. It doesn't matter as long as God is still God. He can use you and he can use me because he's God. And he's God alone. That's why the songwriter says, you are God alone in the good times and bad. You sit on your throne. You are God and God alone. Somebody need to shake it off, man. Shake off the worry. Shake off the fret. Because yes, trouble is here. But God still remains God. Can you imagine the children of Israel heading into slavery? And they're worried, not realizing that God is still God. You understand? He has the same power when you're going into slavery as when you're coming out. God still remains God. He's still an on-time God. All when the bill's due and overdue, he's still an on-time God. We don't realize it because God is God. Oh God. Oh God. Even when the situation look like it passed what you expect it to be, he's still God. He's still the perfect God. In other words, what he's doing is still perfect. Even when you think it's not perfect, it is still perfect because he's still the perfect Jehovah God. Man, sometimes it's giving me trouble because I'm wondering, God, how come you're doing it this way? Oh God, I wish you would have done it my way. It's just me. God, I wish you would have done it my way. But I don't see Jehovah God laughing. I am God and you are boy. You don't come up to my level yet. I am God and God alone. I don't share my glory with nobody. I don't share my glory with nobody. If God says so it going, it's so it going. I want you to understand, sometimes I don't think we understand. He sent the children of Israel down into Egypt for a purpose. They might not have liked it, they might not have loved it, but God was preserving them for a special occasion. That's why he sent them where he sent them. You understand? Because he's God when they were going into slavery, and he's God when they were coming out. He loved them when they were going in, and he loves them when they are coming out. He loves you. God is still God. Or when you don't want to do what he wants you to do, guess what? He is still God. In fact, I was reading the Bible the other day, and I reached to some chapters in Jeremiah, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it was talking about how God was getting ready to punish Egypt. And I was thinking to myself, God, why are you talking about punishing Egypt so bad? I mean, he was really talking about, I'm ready to punish Egypt. And I was wondering why it is so serious in the Bible. They were not the children of Israel. They were not the called out ones. Why is God so serious about punishing them? And then God just remind me, what you're fooling yourself, I'm still the children. I'm still the God of Egypt. It's not because you're not the children of Israel. I'm still the God of Egypt. Whether you're a Christian, yes or no, God is still God. And he's still God over your life. And if you do better, God still will correct you. Because God is yet still God. Don't think you can escape him and think that because you're not a Christian, God is not. God is still in control. God is the same God in the beginning, and he's the same God in the end. He has not changed. He has not changed. He's the same God in your good times that he's the same God in your bad times. He does not change. He's the same God on the mountain. He's the same God in the valley. He does not change. He's not frightened by your circumstances in your life. Not because things change in your life mean that God will change. God does not change. God is still God. So what shall we do? Because God is God, we must worship him because he is God. Despite what is going on in and through your life, we must worship Jehovah God because he is still. I said, Reverend QB, rub it this morning. And when he started to rub it, I said, okay, I'll just use what he said. I'll just use a little bit because since him touched it this morning, I'll just keep on with it. Understand? He said, listen, you must worship Jehovah God because he's still God. You must worship him. You didn't come here to please me. You didn't come here to please Bishop Allen or Bishop Queensbar or anybody. You didn't come here to please because of a specific praise and worship team. The worship belongs to who? Who does the worship belong to? So when you don't worship, who you're not worshiping? Let's try it one more time because it seemed like everybody got quiet on the last one. Who does the worship belong to? And when you come to church, who do you worship? And when you say you're not going to do what they want us to do, what are you saying to? All right. Get quiet again. How comes everybody get quiet on that one? Everybody get quiet on that one. Is God. Is God when you say, I don't want to sing that song because you're not singing the right note. Is God you're talking to? When you say, I'm not doing it because that person is leading, it is God. It's not Bishop Allen. Bishop Allen is just taking his leadership from God. Jehovah God is leading him. That's why he put people where he puts them. So when you say no, you're not saying no to Bishop Allen. Who does the worship belong to? And when you don't want to do it, who are you doing it with? Sounds strong that time. He has not changed. And he will not change. Therefore, when you acknowledge him in your worshiping, you're acknowledging Jehovah God. Our worship is an acknowledgement of what God is and what he has done. So when you come, and your week was a good week. In fact, it's a good week if you can come. As long as you can come. And even if you can't come, it's still a good week. So you come. That means God has brought you through another week. And somebody have to pump you to raise your hands and worship God. He is still God if your head hurting you. He is still God if your foot hurting you. He is still God no matter who is playing in the praise and worship team. He is still God and you must worship him as God. Oh, Jehovah God. You must worship him as God because he is still God. He is still King of Kings. He still woke you up this morning. He is still Lord of Lords. He is still Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. You must worship Jehovah God because he is still. You must worship him acknowledging what he has done. I remember Daniel. Let me show you how the story goes. They said to Daniel, listen, don't worship nobody right now. I'm giving you a month, don't worship anybody. What did Daniel do? Daniel went in his upper room, opened his window, and worshiped 3 times a day because he recognized something that we seem to forget. Yes, man might say one thing, but he realized that God is yet still God. If he brought me there, he can bring me through. God is still God. If he put the problem there, he can take me through it. God is still God, and he deserves his worship. I'm not going to shortchange God worship because of problems at work. I'm not going to shortchange God worship because who is doing what, where, why, and how. I am going to worship Jehovah God. Oh, we shortchange God too often. This is not just a worship. A word is a warning. Stop shortchanging God and his worship. Stop shortchanging God and telling him what is going on. You must worship Jehovah God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, you must worship Jehovah. Stop shortchange God and tell him what is going on around. God needs to be worshipped. We're telling God all kind of things. 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 We find every excuse in the book. And sometimes the excuse fool bad. It's not even good for me. Sometimes the excuse not even good for you. Because if somebody told you the same thing, you wouldn't accept it. The excuse that we give to not worship God, if someone gave you that same excuse for something that they are supposed to do for you, you wouldn't accept it. If anybody else was taking that excuse, you wouldn't accept it. But you give it to God. Interesting. Moses was talking for years to Pharaoh. Years he lives in the palace. That means him and Pharaoh talk good for years. For years, him and Pharaoh live good. But him supposed to do something for God and all of a sudden him can't talk. Without even going to the you who made your mouth part. Because it's years him and Pharaoh talking. All along him I talked to Pharaoh. It's not like he didn't live in the palace. All of a sudden he can't talk. That's the kind of excuse we give to God all the time, you know. So one time God troubled me here. I came to church to do some work on the church, to do some cleanup. And I was trying to sneak out by a prayer meeting. Yes, man. Confession is good for the heart. The prayer meeting was about to start and I tried to hurry up. Start to hurry up. And God just rubbed me and said, it's not me you need to turn around some things in your life. You understand? It's not me you need when you need some things turned around. You understand? And you're running out of the prayer meeting where you're supposed to be. You're running away from it. You understand? The excuses that we give to God, we don't even want to give them to ourselves. We wouldn't take it. In fact, I wouldn't take it. If me was like God, and you're supposed to come to prayer meeting, and you run, go home, go watch TV, and then get up and say, God, can you help me? I would have run you. I call you to worship, and you tell me about somebody in church doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you don't worship me, and then you come ask me for something, I would have run you. Glory be to the name of God. That's why we have to thank God that God is God and he does not change. He's not me. He's God and he's God alone. Yes, he knows the past, he knows the present, and he knows the future. He knows our heart. That's why we have to give glory and honor to him, because he's God and God alone. He's not Bishop Allen. He's not Andre. He's Jehovah God. So we must worship him. Don't shortchange God. Don't shortchange his worship because of things that are going on in our life. Worship Jehovah God. Yes, he's still God, so you must trust him. You must trust him. Yes, you have been praying. Yes, the circumstances last week didn't work out the way you wanted it to work out. Yes, you all lose the job. But guess what? God is still God. Therefore, you must trust him. Because if he brought you to here, he can bring you through. You understand? It's a long Bible, and the beginning and the end. But guess what? It's the same God in the beginning. That's the same God in the end. And if he can bring you to the beginning, he can bring you to the end. That's why you must trust Jehovah God. Yes, there will be mountains. Yes, there will be valleys. Yes, there will be storms that he will have to bring us through. But God is still God. Yes. He knows. He knows where he's taking you. He knows the path that he's leading us through. We have to trust him because he knows. He sees the big picture. He understands the route. He knows that some route might look good. I said it this morning and I say it again. Lot lift up his eyes and look. And he saw a land that looked pretty. It looked nice and fertile. It green. Little did he know that Sodom and Gomorrah was there. land he looked at, we would have chosen it too. We like the pretty easy road. But Sodom and Gomorrah is over there. He knows the path that we are traveling. When Moses raised his eyes, he saw a hilly country. It wasn't as nice and fertile as the land that Lot had chosen. But it was the promised land, because God has a work for you there. He leads us some paths sometimes that we would not. If it was up to us, we wouldn't travel there. If it was up to us, we wouldn't put foot there. But he knows the path I take. And when I shall come through, I'll come through as pure gold. He knows the path I take. He knows where he has some plans for me. Plans. He has some oh, Jehovah God. He has a good future for me. You understand? We have to trust the direction of Jehovah God, because he's still God. He didn't lose his understanding of what is going on. He is still God. He knows where he's taking us. He knows where he's taking us. He knows what he's doing. Like Bishop preached a couple of years ago, he had to take them through because they needed to learn how to war. They had to take the long road because they had to know how to get ready to fight. Sometimes we have to learn war. You understand? We're walking for the easy road, but we need to learn how to get down on our knees and pray. You understand? We need to learn some things that if we take the easy way, we're not going to make it. And what good is it if we have gained the whole world and lose your soul? In the beginning, he was God, our leader, our protector. And in the end, he's the same God, so we must trust him. We must obey him. We must obey Jehovah God, because he has not changed. And the rules that he has set up are for our good. He has the best plan for our lives. The direction that he has set up for you and he's telling you to walk, it's the best direction that you know of. Obey Jehovah God. And we must remember that we are still a child of God. And he is still God. I'm a sprinter. Genesis to Revelation. Beginning to the end. God is still God. From the day you're born to the day after your death, God is still God. When things are good and when things are bad, God is still God. We need to start getting that settled in our soul. Get it settled in our heart. The reason why we do some things is because we do not believe that. That's why sometimes we fight our battle the way we want to fight it. Because we do not believe God is still God and he's fighting for us. Because if we truly believe that God was God and he's fighting for us, we would leave some things in his hands. If we truly believe that we were worshiping Jehovah God sometimes, we would come in church and shout and lift our hands. But because we think we are trying to please people around us, we sometimes don't want. In the good times, he's God. On the hill, he's God. In the valley, he's God. When Bishop Allen is preaching, he is God. If he's not preaching, he's God. Who is on the praise and worship team, he's God. If the music sounds good, he's God. If it don't sound good, I'm trying to make it sink in properly, and I want it to sink in good, because I don't want us to leave on Monday morning all of a sudden God is not God anymore. And the person who has cut you off, you have to take up the battle and fight it. And the boss who is troubling you, you have to take up the battle and fight it, instead of leaving it into the hands of Jehovah God. Because that's exactly what happens most of the time. God is only God in the church. A lot of times God is only God inside the actual sanctuary. Because God have mercy on somebody who walk outside and give you trouble. When Monday morning comes, God have mercy on the boss who give you trouble. All of a sudden, there is no worship in your heart anymore. But guess what? Monday morning at work, guess who is God? God is God. Payday, if there's no paycheck, guess what? When you walk in the doctor's office and he has good news, guess what? And guess what if he doesn't have good news? When the mortgage pay, guess what? And if it don't pay, let me show you something even more important. God is provider. He's provider. Right? When the bills pay, God is still provider. When the bills don't pay, God is still provider. Doesn't change who God is. Let's try it. Let's try it. God is our healer. Everybody with us? He is our healer. So when he heals us, God is our. But if he doesn't heal us, God is still. He's still God. No matter murmur and cry. Because God still remains God. Bishop Allen.
Bless the Lord. Can we give him a shout of praise? Can we bless the Lord again? Praise God. God is still God in every situation. Whatever is happening or is not happening, God is God. And he is to be worshipped, and he is to be praised. Bless the Lord. Can we worship the Lord again? Can we worship the Lord again? Bless the Lord. I want us to take a few minutes, 1 or